Good morning. Good morning. I'd like to share with you a story that a school teacher friend of mine shared with me just this past week. It's called Miss Sally's Love Story. It's a true story. No one except her closest friends knew that she was being abused much of her marriage. So when she divorced him, her friends were so relieved. But for the sake of her kids, because they love their dad so much, and because at the very least he was a good father to them, and difficult as it was personally, she chose to live close by him. Life was hard for Sally, single mom, living paycheck to paycheck, but you couldn't tell. She never let on that anything but roses were blooming around her. You see, Sally was a woman driven by love. Sally was just a teacher's aide, but to her children, and especially the other teachers, she was their savior. Whenever they had a problem child, the teachers would bring the child to Miss Sally, and with the magic of love, one by one, these struggling students would get back on track. She was a magnet at recess with cookies she'd baked the night before and candies she'd purchase. One by one, the kids would have something good to say to her. Miss Sally, I only missed one spelling word. Miss Sally, I didn't talk in class. Miss Sally, I helped John with his math. And one by one, they'd each would get a good job and a treat. Next kid to next kid to next kid until the bell rang. When she ran out of treats, which was quite often, the kids stayed around because they'd get something that only she could give, a Miss Sally hug. So when she died suddenly of a heart attack this year, the whole school, the teachers, the staff, and the students had to be there for her funeral. Eulogies by all of them went on and on and on. Rivers of tears flowed generously as they each shared how hearts and minds were mended so that learning could take place. So much so they stayed around so long that the funeral director had to ask them he kindly asked them to leave. Except for this little boy with his tucked in aloha shirt and his slicked back hair, back and forth through Miss Sally's large album of precious cards and hand-drawn drawings that she had. She had lovingly kept those, all from the hearts of the students whose lives she touched. Miss Sally's sister had found them in Miss Sally's bedroom. They were now laying in rest at the front of the sanctuary. Can I help you? Kindly asked Miss Sally's sister. I'm looking for my card I made for Miss Sally. What's your name? Johnny. What grade are you in, Johnny? 5th grade. Let's see. There it is, exclaimed Johnny. Oh, you're Johnny. Miss Sally talked about you a lot. She did? Yes, and she said you were one of her most special students. She did? He beamed, and he looked at his card front and back and forth. Miss Sally's sister turned around as she noticed someone in the back of her, and there was this woman and her two little daughters, apparently. And she said, I'm Johnny's mother, and my two girls also loved Miss Sally too. Last year I went through a terrible divorce, and my Johnny took it the hardest. I didn't know what to do. The teachers were at wit's end until one of them brought my Johnny to Miss Sally. I don't know what Miss Sally did, but my boy would come home and say, Mom, Miss Sally said I did a good job today. Mom, Miss Sally said the teacher said I paid attention. Mom, Miss Sally gave me 2 cookies. Mom, Miss Sally never gives 2 cookies to anyone. Tears streamed down these women's faces. The girls followed suit. Johnny kept staring intently at his card. Let's go, Johnny. Okay, Mom. Let me just look at it one more time. Just a teacher's aide? Oh, I don't think so.